In the chapter lattice heat capacity or the specific heat of solids, so far we have discussed the classical theory of specific heat capacity of solids, or you can say the Dulong-Petit's law, and after that we have seen the quantum theory of lattice heat capacity of solids, which is actually Einstein's theory of a specific heat of solids or lattice heat capacity of solids. In fact, the Einstein's theory assumed that the atoms of a crystal vibrate totally independent of one another. You have seen in the assumption of Einstein's theory. Actually, the vibrational motion of the crystal as a whole was considered to be the same as the vibrational motion of a single atom, and therefore all the atomic vibration of the crystal were assigned a common frequency. These things we have discussed in the previous lecture, as you can remember. Actually, this assumption is oversimplified because the atoms are bound together in a crystal and form a system of coupled harmonic oscillators which cannot vibrate independently, because solids are actually a closely packed structure, so it is very hard to think that the vibration of an atom will be independent of the vibration of other atom. So this fact was taken into consideration by Debye, who in 1912 put forward his model of the lattice heat capacity. Actually, in Debye's model, the vibrational mode of the crystal as a whole was considered, not a vibrational mode of a particular atom. And that vibrational mode of the crystal as a whole was actually equivalent to the vibrational motion of the system of coupled harmonic oscillators, which can propagate a range of frequencies rather than a single frequency. So in Debye theory, we will not consider a particular frequency, but we will consider a range of frequency lying between, let us suppose, nu and nu plus t nu. So first of all, before going to through the calculations of Debye's theory, first of all we will see what are the basic assumptions, or you can say Debye's approximations to develop his theory. So for your convenience, I have mentioned here some of the important Debye's approximations here. You can see, in fact, first of all, you can say that if atomic vibration in a lattice are strongly coupled, and then we can definitely not consider the independent motion of the atoms. So since the atoms are strongly coupled, so definitely it should not be considered independently. Its vibration should not be considered independently. Again, you can say if the interatomic distance is small, that is the separation between two atoms is small, as compared to the wavelength of the elastic wave, or you can say the sound wave traveling through the crystal, then the crystal can be regarded as a continuum from the point of view of the wave. It means don't think that atoms are discretely distributed, but you have to consider that the atomic distribution is almost continuous, and so the frequency of vibration produced will be also almost continuous. Actually, this continuum model is applicable to all types of vibrations that will be set up in the solid. Basically, we see that there are two types of vibrations which will be excited in the solid, and those are actually transverse and longitudinal mode of vibration. In fact, the frequency of the waves propagating through a crystal is limited by a maximum value. Debye has assumed that this frequency of vibration will be not unlimited. its minimum value will be 0, but its maximum value is finite, and we denote that maximum finite value of frequency of vibration by the symbol nu d, and in the honor of Debye we call it Debye frequency. Actually, this is the maximum limit of the frequency that can be generated in the vibration of the solid. The next assumption, you can say the total number of independent modes of vibration is equal to 3n. Actually, this n is the number of atoms in the crystal, and since each atom has 3 degrees of freedom, so you can say the total number of independent modes of vibration will be simply equal to 3n. And one thing I would like to share with you, that if you will consider 1 mole of a solid, then this number of atoms n will be simply equal to Na, which is called Avogadro number, because you know in 1 mole of a solid or any substance, the number of atoms will be simply equal to Avogadro number. I am telling you this because when we will calculate the energy or the molar specific heat capacity of the solid, then you will see that we will consider actually 1 gram mole of the solid for calculation, for convenience of calculation. Although you can consider mu moles of solids, but it is convenient to consider 1 mole of a solid for the calculation. So in that case, the total number of independent mode of vibration will be 3Na, because each atom has 3 degrees of freedom and number of atoms will be Na in 1 gram mole. So total number of independent modes of vibration will be 3Na. So these are actually the basic assumptions on which our Debye theory is based upon. Now, first of all, we will find in this lecture what will be the total energy of 1 mole of the crystal at a given temperature, let us say T. Because this is a vast concept, so I will not complete it in 1 lecture. It will be completed either in 2 or 3 lectures, you will see. So in this first lecture on Debye's model of a specific heat capacity of solid, I am just going to calculate the energy of 1 mole of a crystal at a given temperature T. In fact, as I have told you that when a solid or a crystal is subjected to an elastic vibration, actually 2 types of vibrations are generated in the crystal, and those 2 types of vibrations are known as transverse vibration and longitudinal vibration. Actually, these things we have already studied during the study of black body radiation when we were discussing actually the Rayleigh-Jeans law. So you have seen these things, and also in the derivation of Planck's law. Now you have seen earlier that the number of modes of transverse vibration per unit volume, remember, per unit volume, with frequencies between nu and nu plus d nu. Can you remember? This number of modes is equal to what? This is simply equal to 8 pi nu square d nu divided by Ct cube, where actually this Ct is the velocity of transverse vibration. Because in this case, the number of modes of vibration is just twice of the number of modes of longitudinal vibration, because in case of transverse vibration, the vibration takes place in 2 perpendicular directions. So the number of modes of vibration, what will be in case of longitudinal vibration, in case of transverse vibration will be just twice of that value. So now the number of modes of vibration in longitudinal vibration per unit volume will be just half of that, and that will be equal to what? 4 pi nu square d nu over Cl cube. Actually this Cl is velocity of longitudinal vibration. So these are the number of modes of vibration of longitudinal mode of vibration and the transverse mode of vibration when we consider the unit volume of our crystal and we take the frequency range between nu and nu plus d nu. Now let us consider that we consider actually 1 mole of a solid, and let us consider that this V is the volume of 1 mole of that solid. In fact, in that condition, if you want to know what will be the number of modes of vibration in this volume V of the solid between the frequency nu and nu plus d nu, then what you will do? You will simply add those two number of modes of vibration after multiplying by the volume V, because you can see these values which we have defined earlier for the transverse vibration and for the longitudinal vibration, that was actually for the unit volume, but now we are considering V volume. So the total number of modes of vibration of a solid of volume V, which is actually volume of 1 mole of the solid, that will be equal to Z nu d nu. This Z nu is actually called what? This is actually just the density of frequency, you can say, and that will be equal to 4 pi V times 2 over Ct cube plus 1 over Cl cube nu square d nu. So this is actually the total number of modes of vibration of V volume of a solid for the frequency range between nu and nu plus d nu. Now, if we want to calculate what will be the total number of vibrational mode with frequencies ranging from 0 to the upper limit of the frequency of vibration, you have seen that the upper limit of frequency of vibration we have assumed that is equal to nu d. You have already assumed it here in the assumption, you can see. So we will simply integrate this equation 1 between the limits for frequency 0 and nu d, and then we will actually get the total number of vibrational modes with frequencies ranging from 0 to nu d. So you can say, so the total number of vibrational modes, total number of vibrational modes of frequencies ranging from 0 to nu d, and nu d, you know, this is upper limit of frequency or maximum frequency of vibration. This is upper limit, which we call this is Debye frequency. What will be that? That will be actually equal to integral of Z of nu d nu from 0 to nu d. And now let us substitute the value of this Z nu d nu from this equation 1. You can see this equation says that this will be equal to integral 0 to nu d 4 pi V times 2 over Ct cube plus 1 over Cl cube nu square d nu. But you have seen in the assumption that as we are considering the 1 mole of the solid, and in 1 mole of the solid there are actually Na atoms, where Na is Avogadro number, and each atom has 3 degrees of freedom. So the total number of independent modes of vibration will be equal to 3 Na. So definitely this number will be equal to what? This will be equal to 3 Na, where Na, you know, this is Avogadro number. This is Avogadro's number, because in 1 mole of the solid the number of atoms is Na, and each atom has 3 degrees of freedom. So the total number of vibrational modes will be equal to 3 Na. So this integral will be equal to 3 Na. Now you can easily evaluate this integral. In fact, this factor 4 pi v times 2 over Ct cube plus 1 over Cl cube is constant. It is independent of frequency nu. So we will take it outside of the integral. So you can see your result will be what? This implies 4 pi v times 2 over Ct cube plus 1 over Cl cube and integral 0 to nu d, 0 to nu d, nu square d nu, and that will be equal to 3 Na. That is equal to 3 Na. Now see, 4 pi v times 2 over Ct cube plus 1 over Cl cube and integral of nu square, that will be simply nu cube by 3, and when you will put the limit, that will be nu d cube over 3, nu d cube over 3, and that is equal to 3 Na. That will be equal to 3 Na. And from here we can find an important equation which will be used in the forthcoming calculation. You will see that 4 pi v times 2 over Ct cube plus 1 over Cl cube, that will be equal to 9 Na, you can see, divided by nu d cube, and let us say this is equation number 2. In fact, from this result you can easily find what will be this nu d cube. So you can write nu d cube is equal to 9 Na over 4 pi v, you can see the equation, and times 2 over Ct cube plus 1 over Cl cube and whole to the power minus 1, and say this is your equation 3. Actually, this equation 3, you can see, can be used to determine the value of the upper limit of frequency or the device frequency nu d. So, for example, if you consider that the velocity of the acoustic wave or the elastic wave, or simply you can say the velocity of the sound wave is of the order of 10 to the power 3 meter per second, and the number of atoms per unit volume, that is Na by V, we will take simply it as 10 to the power 28 meter inverse cube, then you will see that nu d will be almost equal to 10 to the power 13 second inverse. So if we take velocity of sound of the order of 10 to the power 3 meter per second in a solid, and this Na over V, which is actually the number of atoms per unit volume, and in general in case of a solid this is of the order of 10 to the power 28 atoms per meter cube. In fact, if you will use this data, then you will see that this Vd will be not Vd but nu d. This nu d will be almost equal to 10 to the power 13 Hertz or second inverse. So this equation 3 may be utilized to determine the value of this upper limit of frequency. Actually, this frequency nu d, which is 10 to the power 13 in second inverse or the Hertz, actually this corresponds to a wavelength which will be almost equal to 1 angstrom. And this wavelength corresponding to this frequency, which is 1 angstrom, that is just of the order of the interatomic separation. So wavelength corresponding to nu d is almost equal to 1 angstrom, and this is of the order of interatomic separation. Actually, this violates the basic assumption of Debye theory, because you have seen in Debye theory we consider that if the interatomic distance is small as compared to the wavelength of elastic wave, then actually the crystal can be regarded as a continuum from the point of view of the wave propagation. But here we see that the wavelength corresponding to the upper limit of frequency which will be actually excited into this vibration of solid, that corresponds actually a wavelength of 1 angstrom, and that 1 angstrom is of the order of interatomic separation. So we can see that this violates the basic assumption of Debye theory, and so you can say that it puts a question mark on the validity of the continuum theory, that as Debye has considered that the atoms are distributed continuously, frequency will be also produced continuously. So this result actually claims that the assumption of Debye was not correct. So particularly at the high frequency, because we have considered the highest frequency for this calculation. So you can say this violates Debye's assumption. Debye's assumption and puts a question mark on the validity of continuum theory. The validity of continuum theory, particularly when you consider the highest frequency, particularly for nu equal to nu d, that is, this is the maximum frequency of vibration. Further, you can see the velocity of transverse vibration, that is this Ct, and the velocity of longitudinal vibration Cl have been assumed to be independent of the frequency of vibration or the wavelength. Actually, this is not very true, In fact, this CT and CL also depend to some extent on the frequency of vibration or the wavelength. So in this integration, you have seen I have taken out this factor outside of the integral, assuming that this CT and CL are independent of nu, but this is not strictly correct. So this is another actually drawback of the calculation made by Debye. But in spite of this, we will see that the result obtained for CV for Debye is almost experimentally correct. So here you can see that nu d, I have assumed that this is the highest frequency. So in general, when you will actually plot the graph of this density function, that is z of nu in against of the frequency nu, then actually you will see the graphical plot will be like this. This plot will be like almost this. In fact, you can see this is the value of nu d, this is highest frequency, and this lower curve is for the longitudinal vibration and the upper curve is for the transverse vibration. So from this figure you can see that this z of nu has this nu has actually a maximum value when nu z of nu is maximum when nu is equal to nu d. It means the frequency has a defined upper limit. So this is this was actually regarding the number of modes of vibration in a solid when we excite the solid by elastic wave. Now our aim is to find what will be the energy of 1 mole of the solid. Actually, to calculate the value of energy of the solid, Debye make the use of the idea introduced by Planck during his radiation formula. Actually, you know, Planck has derived the expression for average energy for a harmonic oscillator in his black body radiation theory, and Einstein has also utilized that formula in his theory, and Debye has also used those that formula which was actually obtained by Max Planck during his theory of black body radiation. So here we will again use the expression for average energy of an oscillator having a frequency nu at temperature T to find the energy of 1 mole of the solid. So according to Planck's formula, or you can say not formula but Planck's theory will be more important, because when you say Planck's formula, that is Planck's radiation formula. So write here theory. According to Planck's theory, the average energy of an oscillator having frequency nu at temperature T is given by. You have already seen this formula earlier. So you can see if we write this average value by epsilon bar, you know this epsilon bar is equal to what? Can you remember? This is h nu divided by e to the power h nu over kt minus 1. I hope you know each and every term in this equation. Here h is, you know, Planck's constant, and nu is the frequency of vibration, k is Boltzmann constant, and T is the temperature at which you are just calculating the average energy of the oscillator. So this is the expression for the average energy per oscillator, or you can say per Planck oscillator or Hertzian oscillator at temperature T. Now we can associate a harmonic oscillator of the same frequency with each vibrational mode in this case too. So the vibrational energy or the thermal energy of the crystal, if you want to know, then what you will do? You will simply multiply this average energy of one oscillator to the total number of modes of vibration, and then we will get actually the total energy of 1 mole of the solid, because with each mode of vibration you can assume that this epsilon bar energy is associated. So we can assume that with each mode of vibration, epsilon bar energy is associated. So total energy of 1 mole of the solid, what will be the total energy? If you write the total energy by the symbol U, that will be simply equal to average energy associated with each mode of vibration at times total number of mode of vibration. Total number of mode of vibration, and that will be simply given by integral 0 to nu d epsilon bar times z of nu d nu. Z of nu d nu. Actually, first of all, we will find the energy associated with 1 mole of the solid between the frequency range nu and nu plus d nu. That will be epsilon bar into z nu d nu. And when you will integrate it, then you will get the total energy for the all possible vibrations, that is frequency ranging from 0 to nu d. Now you can see we will simply use the result for this nu bar from this equation number 4 and this equation, that is the value of z nu d nu will be used here. So you can see after substituting these values, what will be u? This will be equal to integral 0 to nu d, 0 to nu d, and 4 pi v. We are substituting the value of integral z nu d nu, which we have just seen earlier, times 2 over Ct cube plus 1 over Cl cube nu square d nu times. Now let us put the value of this epsilon bar. This is h nu over e to the power h nu by kt minus 1. And you can see we will again take this 4 pi v times 2 over ct cube plus 1 over cl cube outside of this integral, and inside the integral there will be what? You can see here, this will be h nu cube. This nu and this nu square will be multiplied, and this will be in fact nu cube, and divided by e raised to the power h nu divided by kt minus 1 d nu. Although h is also constant, you may take this h outside of the integral too. Now we will substitute the value of this factor 4 pi v times 2 over ct cube plus 1 over cl cube. You have obtained its value. You can see here. This is actually in equation 2. You can see 4 pi v times 2 in by ct cube plus 1 by cl cube. This is equal to what? This is 9Na by nu d cube. So instead of this factor, you can use this 9Na by nu d cube in your result. So let us see here. So as 4 pi v times 2 over ct cube plus 1 over cl cube, this is equal to what? You have seen just now, this is 9Na divided by nu d cube. So make the use of this value in this equation which we have written for the value of energy U. So you can see that U will be simply equal to what? This will be 9Na over nu d cube, and integral from 0 to nu d h nu cube. You can see your result, h nu cube over this much d nu, h nu cube divided by e to the power h nu divided by kt minus 1 d nu. This is actually the expression for the energy of 1 mole of the solid. This will be equation perhaps 5. See, yes, this will be equation number 5. So you can see we have obtained the expression for the energy of 1 mole of a solid at temperature T. Now actually our aim is to find the specific heat of the solid at temperature T, and you know from the definition of a specific heat that will be simply del U by del T. So to get the value of a specific heat of solid at temperature T, we will simply differentiate this equation 5 partially with respect to temperature T. But before that, as I have told you earlier, that we will not complete this complete concept in this one lecture, but we will see those things in the forthcoming lecture, because that will be very a large lecture if I would like to complete the total concept in this lecture. So now I stop the concept of today's lecture here, and we will start in the second lecture from this last result, and you will see how we can find the specific heat of solid by differentiating this energy U partially with respect to temperature T. So must watch the forthcoming lecture 2 in continuation of this lecture, because only then you will have the complete idea of device theory of specific heat of solids.